Good evening and a very warm welcome to Radio and Television Tonga news package for this evening. Looking at today's top stories, His Majesty King Dubo VI will attend Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral next Monday. Tonga Red Cross Society marks World First Aid Day with the theme of lifelong first aid, and more than 1,000 school students participated in the Tonga Police awareness programs on cybersecurity. Now I'm Vahafonatu Bola with the stories in detail. The Royal Palace Office has confirmed that His Majesty King Dubo VI will attend Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral next Monday. King's Private Secretary Captain Sone Fifita told Radio Tonga News this morning His Majesty King Dubo VI will depart Tonga this Thursday to be in London by this weekend to pay Tonga's tribute to Her Majesty's passing after 70 years of service to the Commonwealth nations, including Tonga. Her Majesty's state funeral is set for next Monday, the 19th of September, to be attended by hundreds of world leaders and head of states, including His Majesty King Dubo VI. Captain Sone Fifita, the Private Secretary of His Majesty, told Radio Tonga News that Tonga's royal family have sent their royal tribute of condolences to the British royal family right after the announcement of Her Majesty's passing last Friday at Tonga's time. Tonga and the United Kingdom have had long bilateral relations since 1950s, when Her Majesty Queen Charlotte Dubo III attended the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1952. Last Friday, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Dubo Nuku'alofa, the Acting Prime Minister Honorable Samuel Kuitavaipulu, and Foreign Affairs Minister and Tourism Fekita Moiloa Utoikamanu visited the British and New Zealand High Commissioner's office here in Nuku'alofa to pay their respects and signed a condolences book for the government and people of the United Kingdom following the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Her Royal Highness Princess Angelica Latufuipeka, Tonga's High Commissioner to Australia, also signed a condolence book at the Governor's office in Australia, conveying His Majesty's government and the people of Tonga's condolence to the government and the people of Australia and the United Kingdom with the Commonwealth nations. However, as Queen Elizabeth's funeral is set for next Monday, her coffin arrived this morning from the Balmoral Palace to the Holyrood House Palace at Edinburgh, Scotland. This afternoon, the Queen's coffin was taken to the St. Carl's Cathedral for members of the public for 24 hours public viewing. Tomorrow evening, the Queen's coffin will be flown to London, accompanied by the Princess Royal, Princess Annie, to arrive at Buckingham Palace at 8 p.m. The following morning, the Queen's coffin will be taken to the Westminster's Hall until her royal state funeral next Monday. However, during this time, the newly King Charles III will be carrying out all the necessary state duties, including a royal visit with his wife, Queen Camilla, to all four nations of the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, King Charles has passed on his former title Prince of Wales to his eldest son with his first wife Princess Diana, to His Royal Highness Prince William and his wife Princess Kate of Wales. However, Queen Elizabeth II during her reign has worked with 14 Prime Ministers, with the 15th Prime Minister appointed 2 days prior to her passing. Radio and Television Tonga News will continue to follow up from Her Majesty's Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral. It is important that everyone in Tonga knows how to use a first aid kit in case of emergencies. The Tonga Red Cross Society marked World First Aid Day on Saturday the 10th of September with the theme of lifelong first aid. Mark Ake will tell you more on that story.
During a television program of the Tonga Red Cross Society, William Mahe says it is important that everyone, including children and elderlies, knows how to use a first aid kit, especially in school environments. He says Tonga Red Cross was able to visit different schools to teach students how to use a first aid kit, but they need to visit more schools so the students gain knowledge and skills of using a first aid kit and how to use it when someone needs help or during emergencies. He adds, it is important for the first aider to value every life. Meanwhile, Pepere Keti from Tonga Red Cross Society says people need to be better prepared at all times, especially during this difficult time. Tonga Red Cross Society hopes to help schools through this first aid awareness program to help students learn how to help and save lives. However, there is no program this year to mark the special day, as the first aid team of the Red Cross Society is working on the recovery program at the outer islands following the Hunga eruption and tsunami in January.
The Consumer Affairs Division is urging the public to be more cautious on buying goods that could be expired. Mark Ake again with the detail.
Some shops are still selling expired goods, and so the Consumer Division of the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development is urging the public to be more cautious and always check the expiry date on products before buying. In a statement from the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development, they hope businesses and shops will comply with the law and work together with the public to first ensure that no expired goods are being sold. Meanwhile, the Consumer Affairs is also warning customers to always make sure that the sale of products such as sugar, flour, onions, and any products that can be weighed is properly measured at store counters. The department will also take action against businesses with no weighing scales. The ministry is ensuring businesses won't abuse law of trade.
The Chief Executive Officer of MATEC is committed to ensure that the Pacific region's environment and climate change is prioritized in all levels. This was after he was appointed to chair of the 3rd Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environments Programs, or SPREP. This meeting took place on the 8th and 9th of this month. We'll join Mark Ake again with the detail.
During the Executive Board meeting, Palamau acknowledged the Executive Board for their trust in having him chair the meeting. He said it is an honor to be able to take the role. He then encouraged active engagement from all members to ensure positive outcomes are achieved to guide the work of SPREP for the immediate and long-term future, and more importantly, to ensure a resilient future for the Pacific countries. The chairman noted that the social and economic costs of COVID-19 have added to the challenges Pacific countries are already facing from the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution impacts. Meanwhile, Samoa's Prime Minister, Honorable Fiame Naomi Mataafa, who officially opened the meeting, congratulated Tonga on being appointed chair. She also acknowledged the work of the outgoing chairman, Mr. Perez. Chairman Ma'o graduated with a master's degree in economics with honors from Auckland University, New Zealand in 1991. He has worked for the government of Tonga since 1993, serving in many roles including being the head of the Budget Division of the Ministry of Finance, Deputy Secretary of the Prime Minister's Office, the First Secretary for the Ministry of Information and Communications, and his current role of Chief Executive Officer for the Ministry of Meteorology, Energy, Information, Disaster Management, Environment, Climate Change and Communication, or better known as MATEC. He has also led various Tongan delegations to many international and regional conferences. The 3rd Executive Board meeting is being held via a blended platform, with participants joining virtually and those in Samoa joining face-to-face from the Pacific Climate Change Center at the SPREP campus in Vailima. SPREP's Executive Board includes the troika of past, present, and future chairpersons of the SPREP meeting. The representatives of Melanesia, Micronesia, Polynesia, Metropolitan, and French-speaking member countries of SPREP.
And Tonga's Police Serious Organized and Transnational Crime Unit have completed awareness programs on cybersecurity since July for 7 schools and participated by more than 1,000 school students. The unit worked together with Tonga Police Crime Prevention Unit and various stakeholders to deliver the awareness program to children in schools with the aim to strengthen cyber safety through increased awareness and prevention. Leading the program, Detective Acting Chief Inspector Ma'ilili Moni said the program is conducted to increase awareness and familiarize students with online dangers and threats to security in cyber safety, or cyberspace rather, especially on social media, and ways to prevent it. He says schools were also educated on the new law of Electronic Communication Abuse Offences Act, which came into force last year. Not only that, but students were also educated on how to file a complaint with police for any harm caused to them via online means. That wraps up this evening's news package, but before we part, here's one final look at today's top stories. His Majesty King Paul VI will attend Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral next Monday. Tonga Red Cross Society marks World First Aid Day with the theme of lifelong first aid, and more than 1,000 school students participated in the Tonga Police awareness programs on cyber safety. And that's it for tonight. Thank you for your company. I'm Vahifonatu Bola. Good evening.